A man is seeing a numerous of strange natural phenomena, such as an oil rain in the morning, thousands of birds rushing through the sky, and even massive lightning at night. Welcome back to Every Frame. Today I'm going to explain a 2011 thriller drama film titled Take Shelter. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Curtis and Samantha live in rural northern Ohio with their young deaf daughter Hannah, those who belong to a small Christian community. Samantha is a full-time wife and mother, which allows her to spend more time with their daughter Hannah. Curtis' work in a drilling company provides the majority of the family's income. It provides generous extended health benefits, allowing them to get Hannah cochlear implant surgery. Samantha rushes out one day, while laughing with her neighbor, to stop Hannah from playing with a nail board. It starts raining a split second later. Samantha and Anna gaze out the window at the rain. Curtis also takes a break from work to enjoy a beer with his coworkers. Curtis and Samantha are delighted to see her sleeping daughter when they arrive home. Curtis cleans up the trash in the backyard the next day. A thunderstorm, however, arrives and strikes the ground. Red, their dog, becomes terrified of thunder. He snaps the chain and bites Curtis' right arm. Curtis abruptly awakens in a cold sweat. It turns out to be a nightmare. After that, Curtis separates Hannah from the dog while she is hugging Red. Samantha tells Curtis that he doesn't have to act like that because Red is Hannah's best friend. Curtis appears to be distracted at work as he keeps looking at his right arm. The drill becomes jammed on the construction site. Curtis takes a break to smoke. Curtis then notices a swarm of 1,000 birds in the sky. Curtis, on the other hand, does not see any bird when he asks his colleague. Curtis has another bad dream the next day in which there is a strong storm and he sees Hannah and himself in a car accident. The car is broken into by two strange men. The first kidnaps Hannah, while the second chokes Curtis to death. Strangely, every bad dream is accompanied by massive storms and golden oil rain, followed by violence or threats. Curtis becomes more anxious and depressed as a result of this. Samantha recommends that he stay at home and rest. Without him, she drives Hannah to the weekly fair. Curtis then constructs a fence around the dog shelter to protect Hannah. Curtis notices a storm cellar in their backyard when he looks at the trash pile. He looks around the cellar and measures something. Curtis has another nightmare. Curtis approaches Hannah as she gazes out the window at the massive storm. However, a stranger is staring at Hannah at the time. Curtis immediately separates Hannah from the man. However, the stranger continues to bang on the door in an attempt to gain entry. A split second later, the entire earth shakes and floats up like an earthquake. Curtis sees himself wetting the bed as he wakes up. When Samantha enters the room to check on Curtis, he stops her from approaching him. Samantha becomes increasingly concerned about Curtis's health. Curtis then takes Hannah to the neighborhood library. He begins to suspect that he is suffering from a mental illness. Regardless, he can't help but believe that an apocalyptic storm of some kind is on near. The two then go to a supermarket to buy canned food. Curtis mentions cleaning up the storm shelter in the backyard during lunch with Samantha's family. Curtis devotes the next few days to constructing the shelter. He sets everything up inside without informing anyone of his plan. Samantha also notices that Curtis frequently visits the shelter at night. Curtis becomes exhausted during the day as a result of his nighttime overwork. He visits a local counselor, making the excuse that he has a cold. Curtis discusses his sleeping problems and the psychological history of his family. Because the nightmare occurs only a few times, the counselor prescribes Curtis a non-habit-forming mild sedative. Meanwhile, the counselor advises Curtis that if he continues to have nightmares, he should see a psychiatrist. The family later visits Hannah's doctor and receives good news. Hannah will have the implant in 6 weeks. Curtis and Samantha then try to put more money aside for their only child. Curtis takes his prescribed medication at night. Surprisingly, he wakes up the next day full of energy and no bad dreams. Curtis discusses with a coworker how long a person can live if something bad happens. Curtis hears a loud thunderclap, but his peer does not. Curtis is still amazed by the thunder sounds that only he can hear as the sky remains gleaming blue. Curtis begins to feel ill and vomits shortly after. Curtis visits his mother in a special care unit, concerned about his worsening condition. She is Sarah, and she was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia around the same age as Curtis is now. Curtis inquires about his mother's bad dreams prior to being diagnosed. Sarah simply states that she was terrified that someone was stalking her. During this time, he also notices unusual natural occurrences that appear to be unique to him. Curtis can't tell the difference between reality and nightmares when they're happening. Curtis breaks the rules by using his company's equipment to build another spare container shelter next to the current one in order to expand the storm shelter. Curtis also obtains a house renovation loan to begin construction on the shelter, which he never tells Samantha about. Samantha becomes enraged after seeing Curtis dig up the backyard. She is at odds with Curtis because he makes all of the financial decisions on his own, despite the fact that Hannah's implant plan is imminent. Samantha wants to know why Curtis has been acting strangely lately. Curtis exits the room without explaining anything. Curtis exceeds the prescribed sedative dose before going to bed. As a result, he suffers from a seizure. Samantha must summon an ambulance. Curtis, on the other hand, wants to save money for Hannah and refuses to be on the emergency service. Finally, Curtis tells Samantha about his recent nightmares and why he needs to devise a plan to protect the family. Curtis claims that it is not just ordinary dreams, but also feelings. Samantha listens to Curtis, but his idea escapes her grasp. Following that, Curtis becomes more distracted at work. Curtis finishes erecting the shelter at home. He also purchases antitoxic masks. Meanwhile, Samantha becomes increasingly irritated with Curtis. She summoned his brother Kyle to check on Curtis, but Curtis is adamant about his plan. Kyle eventually adopts Red instead, as Curtis wishes. Curtis' boss later discovers that he frequently borrows equipment from the company more than once. Curtis is fired as a result of the violation, which means Hannah's medical insurance will be reduced. When Samantha learns of it, she slaps Curtis in the face and becomes enraged. A few days later, Samantha is unable to leave Curtis after realizing that he still loves and cares for Hannah. She advises abandoning the summertime beach vacation in favor of saving money for his professional treatment by a real psychiatrist. The family eats together at gatherings. The two of them start to argue when Curtis's former coworker arrives to speak with him. Then, Curtis has a meltdown that frightens everyone at the party, including Hannah. Everyone hears him yell that he is not crazy. No one can predict how dangerous the impending huge storm will be. Samantha is aware of her husband's problems. She still hugs Curtis, though, to soothe him. After that, they returned home. Later, the family is awakened by a tornado warning. The family heads straight for the brand new shelter. On his family members, Curtis carefully applied masks. Samantha wants Curtis to open the cap the day after the storm passes, but he is adamant about the dangers outside. Curtis fears going outside because he is so preoccupied with his theory. However, last night's storm was just a typical one. While his neighbors begin their daily routines, the sky is clear. Later, Samantha visits a psychiatrist with Curtis. Curtis will undergo a rigorous therapy regimen at the facility, the doctor says. This necessitates him spending some time away from his family. The fact that Curtis has never lived away from his family, particularly Hannah, frustrates him and Samantha about their plan. He is informed by the psychiatrist that a family vacation is preferable. After that, he could finish his medical plan, and possibly the family vacation would be beneficial for Curtis' condition. While Samantha prepares food for the family, Hannah and Curtis enjoy fun at the beach, constructing sandcastles. Hannah abruptly writes storm on the page. Samantha notices some oil rain dropping in her hand a short while later, exactly as Curtis has long warned would happen. The group can make out a massive storm cloud and a tornado-like reach toward the ocean's surface in the distance. The end remains a mystery after Samantha says okay to Curtis. There ends the movie.